Football is known for big hits, highlight plays, and unforgettable moments on the field. But sometimes the biggest plays don't happen under stadium lights. They happen in real life, off the field, when players are faced with life or death situations. From Christian McCaffrey saving a man who fell off a cliff, to Peyton Hillis nearly dying to rescue his own family from drowning, these are the times when NFL stars proved they're more than just athletes. These are 10 times NFL players saved lives. At number 10, Christian McCaffrey saves a man at Castle Rock. Christian McCaffrey was hiking at a dangerous spot in Colorado known as Castle Rock. At the same time, a man named Dan was hiking there with his grandson. After taking a selfie at the top, they began climbing down. Suddenly, Dan slipped. I thought I heard the sound of a shoe slipping, and then someone saying, "Oh!" I turned around and saw him hit the ground. Dan fell all the way down the trail, right in front of McCaffrey. "Come on down." Is he still awake? He's breathing. Struggling paramedics rushed to the scene and took Dan to the hospital. Doctors discovered he had broken 12 bones, including his neck, ribs, pelvis, and femur. Worse, he was also suffering from a brain bleed that could have killed him at any moment. After multiple surgeries and weeks in the hospital, Dan miraculously recovered. McCaffrey didn't stop there. He gave the family signed jerseys, game tickets, and even visited them in person. Dan's son said, "We're just so thankful. Christian really saved my dad's life." McCaffrey's quick action truly made the difference. At number 9, Blaine Gabbert rescues a helicopter crash family, Tampa Bay, Florida. Blaine Gabbert and his brothers were out riding jet skis when they saw a helicopter literally falling out of the sky. They rushed over and found a family trapped in the wreckage. The youngest kid came up and said he was pinned in there. I asked if anybody else was trapped. Then I called 911. Gabbert's crew managed to get the family out, placing them on their jet skis seconds before the helicopter fully sank. The pilot and passengers survived without serious injuries. The police were so impressed, they made Gabbert an honorary member of the Marine Patrol. But Blaine downplayed it, saying, "It wasn't me. It was all of us together. If we hadn't gotten there when we did, it could have turned out so much worse." At number 8, Tyreek Hill saves a fan's life. Through a group chat. After a game, Tyreek Hill met some Chiefs superfans and even joined their group chat. They regularly texted him congratulations, especially Louis Brewer, their most dedicated fan. One night after a huge game, the chat was buzzing, but Louis never replied. That was unusual. Tyreek insisted the guys go check on him. When they did, they found Louis unresponsive on his bathroom floor. He had suffered a stroke days earlier and had been lying there clinging to life. Thanks to Tyreek noticing something was wrong, Louis was rushed to the hospital. Doctors stabilized him, and he recovered. Tyreek later visited. "What's up, man? I had to check in on you." Louis survived, all because Tyreek paid attention. At number 7, Mark Andrews saves a passenger at 40,000 feet. Mark Andrews has lived his whole life with type 1 diabetes. He carries a test kit everywhere. During a flight, a woman suddenly suffered a medical emergency. Her heart rate dropped dangerously low. Even doctors on board couldn't figure out what was wrong. But Andrews recognized the symptoms. He tested her blood sugar, discovering it was critically low. They gave her orange juice, and she began recovering enough to stabilize until landing. The woman later said she had no idea who Andrews even was. "He just pulled out his kit and saved me." Mark called the doctors the heroes, but everyone knew it was his quick thinking that truly saved her life. At number 6, Brandon Bear pulls a man from a fiery train crash. Brandon Bear never expected to become a hero on an ordinary drive to work. But in May 2021, fate had other plans. On a rural Idaho road, he watched in shock as a train plowed into a pickup truck stuck on the tracks. The impact dragged the truck hundreds of feet before it exploded into flames. Most people would freeze. Bear ran toward the inferno. Crawling under smoke and heat, he found the driver trapped inside, screaming for help. Time was running out. The vehicle was seconds away from being consumed. Bear broke through the window, pulled the man free, and carried him to safety. Just moments later, the truck was engulfed in fire. The driver was airlifted to the hospital with broken bones and a concussion, but he lived. Bear later said, "The Lord wanted that man alive. There's no other reason he survived that." The story spread nationwide. Fans remembered him not just as a former NFL lineman, but as the man who risked everything to save a stranger. At number 5, Khalil Shakir saves 19 dogs from being put down. Sometimes saving lives isn't just about people. Bills receiver Khalil Shakir grew up loving dogs. To him, pets were family. So when he learned that a local shelter had run out of space and planned to euthanize 19 dogs within hours, he knew he couldn't just sit back. Shakir stepped in personally, rescuing all 19 animals. But he didn't stop there. He organized an adoption event, spreading the word to his community. By the end of the day, every single one of those dogs had a new home. Shakir didn't just save 19 lives, he gave 19 families a new best friend. And for fans, it showed a different side of NFL players, one where compassion matters just as much as competition. At number 4, Tyshawn Ward saves a falling child Arrowhead Stadium after a Chiefs game. The tunnel was packed with kids rushing to catch a glimpse of their heroes. Among the chaos, one young boy leaned too far over the railing. Suddenly, he slipped, falling headfirst toward the concrete. Gasps filled the tunnel. A child's life was about to be shattered. But Tyshawn Ward reacted instantly. With lightning reflexes, he caught the boy mid-fall and pushed him back into the stands. Later, Ward downplayed it. "It was just instinct. I saw him coming down and had to push him back up before he hit too hard." For everyone watching, it wasn't just instinct. It was a split-second act that prevented tragedy. That child went home safe because an NFL player was in the right place, at the right time, with the right reaction. At number 3, Peyton Hillis nearly dies saving his family from drowning. January 4th, 2023, Pensacola, Florida. Former Browns running back Peyton Hillis was spending the day at the beach with his family. It was supposed to be a normal outing. Sunshine, sand, kids playing in the waves. Then disaster struck. A powerful rip current dragged his son and niece out into deep water. Rip currents are among the deadliest forces in the ocean, sucking swimmers away from shore in seconds. Hillis's mother screamed for help. Peyton didn't hesitate. He sprinted into the water. First, he swam past his son, making the agonizing choice to reach his niece, who was in greater danger. Then he turned back for his boy. Fighting the current, he somehow pulled them both to safety. But the effort pushed his body past its limits. Hillis collapsed unconscious on the beach. Paramedics rushed him to the hospital. His lungs and kidneys were failing. He was placed on a ventilator. For 10 days, his family didn't know if he'd ever wake up. Miraculously, he did. Against all odds, he survived. Later, Hillis said, "It's a miracle. We weren't burying somebody that day. He nearly gave his life, but in the end, he saved 2. Number 2, the self-save touchdown. Not every life-saving moment is dramatic. Some are almost unbelievable. During a game, after scoring a touchdown, one NFL player collapsed to the ground. It looked serious, but he somehow managed to steady himself, get oxygen, and walk it off. Later, he even joked about it, reposting the clip online with the caption, "Had to save my own life on national TV just to flex on the defense." It wasn't a near-death moment like the others, but it showed the grit, toughness, and humor that NFL players bring even in the scariest moments. At number 1, Dak Prescott saves a co-worker's life. Through cancer screenings, for Dak Prescott, tragedy struck early. His mother, Peggy, was his rock, his best friend. But in 2013, she was diagnosed with cancer. Less than a year later, she passed away. Her death devastated Dak. But instead of letting the pain consume him, he turned it into a mission. He launched the Faith Fight Finish Foundation, dedicated to funding cancer research and providing free screenings. Dak wanted others to catch cancer early, before it was too late. That mission paid off in the most personal way possible. One of the first to take part in the foundation's screenings was Cowboys employee Ted Carper. His results came back with terrifying news: stage 2 tonsil cancer. Because of Dak's program, it was caught early. Doctors immediately began treatment and removed the tumor. Ted later said, "If it weren't for Dak, I wouldn't be here today." Dak had saved a man's life. Not with a throw, not with a touchdown, but with compassion born from heartbreak. It was proof that sometimes the greatest impact NFL players make isn't on the field, but off it. From McCaffrey saving a hiker, to Peyton Hillis nearly dying to save his family, to Dak Prescott turning loss into hope, these moments prove NFL players are more than just athletes. They're fathers, sons, friends. And when the moment comes, heroes. These were the 10 times NFL players saved lives.